Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to one of the latest releases from Lord's Brewing Co. That's right, today we've got a relatively new beer, but to be honest that's not why I'm reviewing it. I'm reviewing it because I tried this beer before and, well, it's unlike, I'm not going to say anything else, but it is something definitely a little bit different. This beer is a part of Lord's Brewing Co.'s new kind of small batch, hand-bottled range, kind of going back to basics and giving people just a little look at a few more, well, just a few more different brews than maybe they normally get the option to buy. This is called High Roller and it is a Brut IPA, which some of you may have guessed means, yes indeed, it is a beer fermented with champagne yeast, which, well, always gives interesting notes, if nothing else. It's a difficult style to execute, but the last time I had this, I was up at Lord's Brewing Co. in Huddersfield, and, well, I enjoyed a very nice day there, and I did get to sample one of these bottles, and John from Lord's Brewing Co. very kindly gave me another to take home, and, well, I thought I'd review it for him because it's a nice thing to do. So, it's a 5% beer. As I said, it's a High Roller Brut IPA, limited edition. It's double fermented. Double fermentation just means that it was fermented once to make beer and then it's been conditioned in the bottle as well to help preserve the life of it. So it's had a little bit of fermentation in the bottle, which also means that every bottle will be just a little bit different. And, well, that's it really. It's time to get into the bottle and let you know what I think about it. So here is a quick look at the bottle. It's got a very reflective label, which makes it quite difficult with the light I've got on here. But as you can see, it's a nice looking thing. What's the theme on there? It's got, it looks like the back of a luxury 70s or 80s car. Could be a Rolls Royce, could be a Bentley, something like that. But very nice indeed. Right then, let's get this open, shall we? Lord's Brewing Co. glass for this one, of course. Removal of the mandatory dog hair. Now, it's safe to say the words IPA and that colour don't really often go together. It is a deep red. Again, as always, it's coming across slightly darker on camera than it probably is in real life, but it's got this massive, depthy, deep, almost blood orange hue to it. It is distinctly a brown beer with some red notes, and I'm regretting putting it in the Lord's Brewing Co. glass now because it has got the percolator at the bottom and it has sent this absolutely wild. I don't know if you can see the carbonation rushing up through there, but it is absolutely insane. And I may have ruined it, but, well, I guess we'll find out in a minute. And if you were thinking, I'm not seeing a proper crummy pour for a while, well, there you go. Stick a flake in it, will you? I'm going to pour the rest of the bottle into this Vocation Craft style glass just to see if we get the same effect here. I'm being mindful that there's probably a bit of yeast in the bottom as well. Wow, that's different. You can tell it's bottle conditioned because the bit that's gone into that Vocation glass is absolutely hazy. I was hoping to give you a realistic just review of it from that one, but I have to say, despite the slightly altered appearance due to that being basically all of the yeast in that bottle in that glass, the aroma is pretty much what I remember. It's got an expected yeasty funk because of that champagne yeast, but it's not quite as, it's difficult. I describe it as you go into it and you get, when you first get your nose over it, you think, oh, we're going kind of down the farmhouse, rustic, European kind of funky nose. And then it takes kind of a weirdly sweet turn and you start to get almost a slightly grapey ester about it. It's not necessarily, I mean, it's not grape, it's not fermented grapes, but because of the mental association between grapes and that yeast style, as soon as that yeast comes into something else, you can almost fool your mind into that kind of fresh, rich, green grape kind of thing. And then as it develops, you almost end up going full circle back to kind of more rustic European styles, but you nearly land at that kind of slightly sweet banana foam shrimp kind of thing you get from a Belgian beer. But before it gets there, it cuts short, it cuts hard, and it cuts clean. And it leaves you with something that, well, if anything else, leaves you a bit confused, but definitely very curious. It doesn't smell like any other IPA, if I'm honest, and so the only thing left to do then, really, is taste it. I'm going to switch back to the Lord's Brewing Co. glass and put that one down because I do think the amount of yeast in that one will impact the flavour a bit. So we're going to come over here now. It's settled a little bit. I mean, that head is just, well, it's stubborn. It's just sat there looking very much, well, like an ice cream float, if I'm honest, but it is what it is. There's not a huge amount of divergence on the aroma between these two. A bit less of that funky and almost Belgian style yeast on this one, but it may just be due to the immense amount of foam protecting the actual beer here. But this one maybe slightly fruitier, maybe a few more kind of raspberry and strawberry notes in it, weirdly. But in any event, it smells pretty delicious and, quite peculiar all at the same time. So let's get into it, shall we? Cheers. This is the same reaction I had last time I tried this beer. It's weirdly wonderful. It's got a real... There's just everything going on in there. It's, I'll be honest, been ruined by the percolated glass. If you get one of these, pour it into a straight up pint glass, because, yeah, that getting rid of that much CO2 out of it straight away did not do it any favours. But the flavour's still there. I think if we try this one, that one did have good carbonation levels. This one now has just been, well, it's flat, as you would imagine, well, because the carbon dioxide was just setting off so aggressively when it was in there, and now there's not much coming up at all. But it's funny because it's such a fast blast of flavours. I know typically every beer review I go through and do a top to bottom taste test to try and dissect the individual notes throughout the whole thing. Absolutely no choice on this one because there's so much going on at once. There's a bit of maltiness up front, it's a bit sweet, then it's instantly bitter, then it dials it back again, then you get a big smack of hop character, then it draws it back again, you get mineral forwardness, almost, you know, lulls you into something refreshing and German, and then the aftertaste, peculiarly, you could have believed you just sipped on an IPA, which you have, but the rest of the flavour notes don't really match that. So let's get into it. Quick top to bottom taste test time. So initially, sweet, spritzy, fruity on the front of the tongue. Again, that kind of strawberry, raspberry, light, summer berries and fruits. And then instantly you get hit with a bit of that champagne-esque feel. It's sharp, it's short, it's drying on the tongue. But as soon as that hits, the champagne style experience in terms of flavour continues, but it's just backed up with a load of sweetness that makes you go, okay, this is chill, this is nice. And again, as soon as you set your mind on that, a huge, huge hit of hop bitterness comes in. Really pronounced. It's not the most bitter beer, but to say how many kind of range of taste emotions you've gone through already, it wasn't really expected. Mid-palate, everything peels back. It becomes fresh, almost, watery is the wrong word, but refreshing, mineral forward. Again, like I was saying, something refreshing in German. That kind of, where some German lagers kind of peel away and you're just left with this, what you can tell is quality water refreshment in the middle there. You get that kind of experience before heading back into something very heavy, because then the champagne's back, it's kicking you, it's joined forces almost with the hot bitterness. You've got that nice, big, almost West Coast style bite at the back of the tongue. And on the aftertaste, sharp, citrus, stone fruit, bit of the malt base starts to show through. That ever so slight champagne kind of experience does sit throughout the whole thing, just stitching it all together in the most weirdly wonderful way. And you're left with a slightly dry palate, a bit of a confusion about what just happened, and a real want to go in and finish it because it is delicious. And as you can see, I've nearly drank it all, so let's have a quick look at this bottle to see if there's anything else you need to know about it. So the ingredients are water, malted barley, wheat, hops and yeast. Pretty straight up, if you ask me. The description on this beer says that unattainable lifestyle is brought to you in the way of a beer. Hoppy, loud, and using champagne yeast, you'll have to make sure you stick that little finger when you're drinking it so everyone knows you're a high roller. Done. It says this bottle of beer has been hand-filled, secondary fermented, and labelled to give you the ultimate purist experience. This beer is completely unfiltered and will contain sediment. Ideally stored upright. Be careful pouring. You don't want sediment in your glass. Well, some people do. I managed to get all mine in a separate glass over there. That really is it. It's from Lord's Brewing Co. They're in Huddersfield, and they're definitely worth a try, especially for stuff like this, because, I mean, that is an experience you're not going to get, really, from anyone else. And, yeah, it is really absolutely solid. I do need to say, I didn't buy this bottle. I was gifted it when I was up there, so that was very much appreciated. Thank you, John and the team at Lords, for doing so. But that really doesn't affect my opinion on this beer. I think he gave it me because he saw how much I liked it the first time I tried it. So, you know, big thumbs up for that one. There will be another review coming from Lords Brewing Co. very soon. But until then, that's really all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Pinkies out. Cheers.